I've had a lot of experience with different kinds of paints, but watercolor is one that I can take anywhere with me. And I find it the easiest to use and the easiest to play with, but it has so many surprises that I love. My name is Sonia Mocnik. Some people call me Sonia Mocnik. I teach watercolor and illustration through my sketching and watercolor classes, through community centers. I've been teaching on cruise ships, and I do other special events like Harmony Arts Festival, where I teach my fluffy roosters and have fun with all sorts of colors. What I love about watercolors is it's so convenient to use at any time, but there's differences. One, you have a tube, and one, you have a pan. And when you have a pan, they're actually dried. And I'm just going to show you, this is a wonderful set here. That is the Opus Essential set, but it has 12 colors in it. And on my other hand here, I'm using one of the tubes of the Opus actual tube colors of the watercolor. No, they're exactly the same. But what's nice is when you have a pan like this, everything is together. What I love about this is the fact that it's got these nice sized, about 2.5 inches by about 2 inches. Then you've got individual trays here for mixing as well. Then you've got your actual listing. So this corresponds with the actual paints in here. And then if I want to start this and activate it, I've got my spray bottle, and you can see this here. So I'm going to spray and activate these paints. Okay, and then I'm actually going to take a smaller Galliano brush, and I have a little image here that you can have a look at. So one of the things is the phthalo green, and the phthalo green can be a little shocking because it's so bright. But if you add a little bit of the alizarin crimson into it, and I'm just going to bring my sponge here so that I can sponge it off, you get amazing different colors. Look at that. Now that's getting into a purple. So I can add a little bit more green back, and I'm getting a dark, almost a gray, because red and green make a gray if you mix them together. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, now one of the things is, and I'm just going to move this aside here, is I've got all these empty little cans here. So we can actually fill them up. And I happen to have here, you can see the yellow ochre, Opus Essentials, and the raw sienna. Raw sienna is a fantastic color. So is the yellow ochre. So I'm going to fill them in. But one of the things you have to be aware of is you need to be careful, because as you get out, they'll squeeze out. So try and squeeze from the end and see what you can get out here. There we go. That's a lot. That may be too much for the first initial effort. You can use the back of your brush or something else just to kind of move it in there a little bit around. Try and get it in there. Okay, and let that sit and dry. That was probably too much. So with the next one, I'm going to try a little bit less. I'll just rinse that off. Although I am terrible with that. I like to save all my paint. One of the things too is be aware cleaning this. Really important, because it'll save you a lot of frustration when you can't open the lid. Okay. Yellow ochre. This time I'm just going to leave that in there, and you can see I'm just going to squirt a little bit in. Just, that's probably what you want to start with. Now this was a little bit more liquidy, so it was a little easier. Okay. When you have an essential set like this, where you have two nice mixing areas, the paint will sit in here much better. You can then blend a little bit easier on these others. And for these sets here, that you can lift this out, and voila, you have all more mixing. So you can leave these out and paint from there, which is great. Okay, so then these are all your empties, and again, you can flip them out. And if you find that you're using this a lot, you can just squeeze more in, or you can take it out, freeze it. Freeze it is easier, because then it'll pop out faster if you need to. Otherwise, you're using a lot of water and you get a lot of color on your hands. So here on the back is really helpful, especially when you're using this size, because you could just have it on your hand. Actually, I paint with my right hand, so you'd have it on your left hand, and then you have it like this, and so it's so much more convenient, because you can go in, you can be mixing, and then you don't have to worry about losing or the wind shaking it around. When a student comes into class, and I'm using a brush, they question, Why am I using that brush? One of the easiest things is to tell them that Opus offers this essential set of brushes through the Galliano brand. And I can rely on this brush no matter when I use it. These are synthetic, but they work just like animal hair does. It comes in a pack of 5, and I love that pack because it gives you a good range of numbers, and they start to learn how to use each of the brushes. And then with the quill brushes, then you start to get into how much water you can use and how you can make interesting things with water and get more expressive with the water. And these hold so much water. These do too, but these are more for that freedom and looseness and abstract and things like that. Even if you have great brushes and you great paints, but if you don't have the paper is really, really, really important. Some people who just come out of the dollar store and say, okay, I can buy it at the dollar store. Fine, no problem if that's what you want to use, but you're going to struggle with it because you're not going to like the results. And so if you're going to struggle with it, you're not going to feel that creativity because you're not going to get anything, and it's going to feel like you just don't want to be working in that medium. The one I'm currently using is the Magnani Toscana. Now, this is rough, which means that the green, you can really feel the texture here, which is really lovely. For beginners, rough can sometimes be an easier paint than a smooth cold press. And I've got the Arches cold press here. So you can see, and it says, it's always green for the cold press for Arches, and it says 100% cotton, which is really important. Tells you the sizing, and a lot of times it's really hard for people because we go between 300 GSM and 140 pound, and most people don't know what GSM means. It's all to do with the way they weight the paper when they put it through the molds, but 140 pound is going to the standard size to use. And then you see there's 20 sheets here, and one of the fun things about this is oftentimes you don't see what you actually see. Now, this is not black paper, this is actually paper that has to be taken off. So you need a smooth edge of some sort. And then there's a little gap in here. This is, a lot of people don't know these gaps. So you have to peel the gap away. Can you see that? There, I just peeled the gap away. And there you go. Okay, there you are. Now you have your paper here, right there. I just happen to have your new mixed media book, which I'm quite excited about. I love the fact that it's smooth, but it has a bit of tooth that you can feel. It's thick enough that it's not gonna run through. Always happens in a sketchbook. You fear the first page and it stops you from painting anything. So if you have the serrated edge, you can do anything and then it's gonna go away for you, right? You can use your pen to actually, or a pencil, to get ideas for your notans that I try and explain to everybody. You should do little thumbnail sketches. Easiest thing to do is to actually draw what's around you. So you can have a 0.1, a 0.5, a 0.05, and it really depends on actually how heavy you tend to press on the paper. So some people might like a thicker line, others might like a thinner line, but also might find that when you're actually applying it, if you have a really thin line, it can be hard for some people to get the consistency and continuation. So it's a matter of testing them out and seeing what works for you. But one of the most important things when it comes to actually doing watercolor and watercolor ink is that it has to be permanent. Because if it's not permanent, then what happens is as soon as you touch it with watercolor or water, it starts to bleed a new color on its own. And that's why I prefer the Micron. I also like the Derwent. Faber-Castell is excellent too. And it's one of the things I love to use when it comes to actually doing my sketching. Beautiful color right in there. I'll just put that right in there. One of the things that I always loved about watercolor when I first started out was the fact that I could either use a pencil or I could go directly to a permanent marker and start my drawings with that. This is one of the Mars small stencils that I picked up just the other day at Opus. A lot of people get fearful because they have to figure they have to draw everything. You do not have to draw everything. You can use the stencils like this. You can use tracings. All that is available to you, okay? And it will really help for you to get comfortable with watercolor first. If you're just tracing on an image onto your watercolor paper, an actual hard pencil is actually very nice because it gives you a fine line, very light gray, and you don't have to do a lot with the actual rubber kneaded eraser. Then you have the option of using all these types of graphite pencils that you have with all the different levels of graphite so that you can actually get more of beautiful grays, and if you shade in different ways or if you cross hatch in different ways, you will gain more effect for the different values that you want to achieve just in sketching and in trying things out. You will be able to actually get a different technique with using the graphites and the watercolor. It will actually blend a little bit, and it will create a different kind of tone as well. Opus has artists working for them all the time. And every one of those artists have a different, fantastic perspective. So don't be afraid to walk up to the Opus attendant that's there, because they're more than willing to help and want to share what they can to help you understand as much of art media as possible. Watercolor is a fearful medium for a lot of people. And so it's so important just to play with the medium. And once you start playing, you start to feel comfortable and in your own space. And then let your creativity go. And the next thing you know, everybody's getting successful with what they're doing. It's all about the encouragement and saying, you think you know watercolor and you're afraid of it, but you can do all sorts of things with it. And you can fix things too.
A huge thank you to Sonia Mocnik for sharing her insight and experience with us. We hope this video has helped demystify the materials you'll encounter as you begin your own journey with watercolor and illustration, from paints and brushes to paper, pens, and beyond. Whether you're preparing for a class or simply exploring at home, these essentials are a great place to start. And remember, if ever you need guidance, the team at Opus Art Supplies is always happy to help you find the tools and confidence to bring your creativity to life. Thanks for watching.